7 tips for buying a used car. What's up, everyone? It's Rich from Budgets Brews. It is Freaky Fast Finance Friday. It was supposed to be more dramatic than it was. Stay tuned and let's go ahead and jump right in so you can figure out how to buy a used car. Tip number 1, you want to look for things that are uglied out. You want dents, you want nicks, you want your interior to be destroyed. I'm exaggerating a little bit. These are your friends because now you can haggle with the used car dealer or that private party, whatever you choose to go with, to lower the price. None of that is going to affect the mechanics, the inner workings of the car. We'll get to that later, but at least if it's ugly, it's okay. It's going to be able to save you money. The one thing that you may want to try to avoid are tires. Once again, maybe finagle with them on the price a little bit, but if the tires got some cracks and scuffs in those might be able to cost you a couple $100 out of pocket, maybe 400, maybe 600, depending on where you shop. So that's the one thing I would say be wary of, but everything else, let it be destroyed. Tip number 2, you want to follow the 10-year, 100,000 mile rule. So you want to be looking at cars around that range with 100,000 miles. And I know you might be thinking, wow, Rich, that's way too much. Well, cars made in the last 10 to 15 years can actually run to about 200,000 if they're maintained properly. And that's the next thing you want to do with this in this tip is you want to ask the dealer or the private party, do you have any maintenance records? If they do, that is a plus, ching ching. And you want to make sure that they have maintained their oil change records. That's number 1 within those maintenance records. So those are where you want to sort of go. 100,000 miles, that 10-year, that's your golden rule. Tip number 3, where to look for cars. You want to be looking at Carvana. You want to be looking at IC Cars. You want to be looking at Auto Trader, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, and Car Gurus. There's a couple other sites out there, but you want to be able to easily scan through and narrow down your search so you could try to figure out exactly what you're looking for. So those are some great resources of where to be looking for these cars. Tip number 4, beware of the beloved nameplates. Now I'm talking about Mazdas, I'm talking about Hondas. Consumer Reports, they rank those high in reliability, high for resale value, but because of that resale value, actually comes the extra price, which means you're going to be paying a little bit more for those. So US Today actually says you should be looking at the top 2-tier Japanese brands, what they say, and those are going to be your Mazdas. Those are going to be your Nissans, your Mitsubishis. Those also are high on reliability within those ranks. So stick to there, and you want to stay away from the German luxury brands or even just German vehicles in general, not because of the reliability, but just because of the maintenance that comes with that, which is going to be a higher maintenance with the engines they're making and more money out of your pocket. Tip number 5, check Consumer Reports. This is a subscription you will have to pay. You can go ahead and cancel that if you just want that first month, but it actually, in those current year subscriptions, current month subscriptions, it will take a look back at some of the older cars in there as well, and it ranks those. Now, this is a small upfront price that you're going to be paying that can save you thousands of dollars to at least narrow down the cars that you're looking for. So I highly recommend checking with Consumer Reports beforehand, or if you know somebody who has their subscription, ask if you can borrow it or just take a look. Tip number 6, check the vehicle identification number, VIN number. You can find this on the windshield of the car, or sometimes if you open the door, it's right under where the panel is over there. And this is going to be able to tell you a little bit about the title. Was it flood damage? Was it a salvage title? Was it a rebuilt title? Good information, especially if you're buying private party where the seller may not disclose some of that information. Definitely want to check that out. Make sure everything is a-okay before you make that purchase. Last but not least, tip number 7, and it is get the car inspected by a mechanic before you purchase. Even just that conversation with, if it's a private party, hey, do you mind if I go ahead and have my mechanic take a look at this car? If they're weary about that, then that probably throws up some red flags. So you want to make sure you get that checked out. And if they're not willing for you to take the car to the shop, if you know somebody, or if you know somebody who knows somebody, have that mechanic come here and at least do a walk around. But once again, I might be weary about that. Even ask them, hey, you could come along. We're just going to go ahead and do there's a lot of places that will do like a free 51-point inspection. Go ahead and take that in there before you purchase. This is a big decision. You don't want to get something that's going to be mechanically inclined to have problems down the road. So make sure you go ahead and get that checked out by a mechanic. That wraps up today's episode of Freaky Fast Finance Friday. If you enjoy listening, please go ahead and share this. And next week, we're going to have some more Freaky Fast Finance tips coming your way. Rich from Budgets Brews, signing off.